Hello, my name is Adam Stjernljus and I'm the creative director and lead game designer at Wishfully.
And I'm Claes Eriksson. I'm a co-director and scriptwriter.
And today we're gonna play around 20 minutes of our upcoming sci-fi puzzle adventure Planet of LANA.
So when we enter this point of the game, our main character LANA is passed out on the ground, and this mysterious creature Mui is trying to wake her up. The game starts with LANA's homeworld of Novo, this beautiful planet that you can all see, being invaded by this mysterious army of robots. And they start to abduct all the people in her home village, including her sister, but LANA herself manages to escape. And then before long she comes across this little creature Mui. And this scene takes place when they've just narrowly escaped an attack from one of these robots and depicts them sort of bonding for the journey ahead.
Chai Mui, ona LANA.
Now you'll hear the dialogue is actually a language that we've written ourselves, that these people of this strange planet Novo use to communicate with each other. At first we didn't actually want to have any spoken dialogue at all. We wanted to basically just communicate the characters' feelings and emotions using body language and animation, but we sort of felt a little bit stifled by that as the story grew and developed, and we really felt like we wanted that extra layer of emotion that sort of tone of voice would bring. So there won't be any subtitles. You won't really understand the language beyond like just inferring meaning from the tone of voice, but we found that it's a very effective way to sort of build on this alien world of Novo.
Yeah, it really adds another layer to the storytelling, I think, and it's also very important gameplay-wise for the relationship between LANA and Mui. And in the game you are playing as LANA, this 11-year-old girl, and then you have your sidekick Mui, and you can think of her kind of like a dog. And so you can give her commands, you can tell her to stop or to follow you, and you can also give her other commands. And so LANA and Mui is always communicating throughout the game, and that's also why it's so important that LANA got a voice of her own and the Mui answers her, and that communication between the characters.
Ima.
And here we can see first Mui had to stand on one of those sprouts so LANA could get across, and then LANA had to do the same thing for Mui. And gameplay and puzzles are really built around what LANA can do and what Mui can do and what they can do together and separately. And it's very, very useful having Mui around. She can fit into small spaces, and she can also jump higher than you, and she can bite off cables and that kind of stuff. And she also has some special ability that you might have seen in our gameplay trailer, where she can hypnotize other animals with white glowing eyes on this planet of Novo, which also opens up a whole bunch of other gameplay possibilities. That's a lot of fun, and we focused a lot on making a fun, varied game, and to make this world enjoyable just to explore and to come across these weird creatures, and yeah.
And of course, LANA's only 11 years old, so she's, as a character, she's quite vulnerable. Like, we didn't want her to be a superhero, and like up until this point of the game, it really has been you against the world. And then, you know, when you do encounter Mui finally, like, it becomes like a little bit of a turning point for her, and in the game in particular, that you start to take a little bit more control and progress.
Yeah, and another thing I just want to touch on is the nature in our game, which we've spent a lot of time on making it feel right. So the planet of Novo, where this game is set, is quite similar to Earth when it comes to the nature, and of course the creatures are very alien and in that sense, but we really wanted to capture that feeling of being out in nature and feeling the wind blowing through the trees and the grass. We spent a lot of time on that, and we think we've done a good job and to really, you know, push the details in the world, both like wind, but also little animals and critters, so you feel that you're really in the world.
We saw there before that LANA develops this other ability with Mui to waypoint and to actually point her to a specific place on screen, where she can then send Mui in, and Mui will go there and perform an action, or which we'll see is quite useful. And here's another example of, you know, just little fun details. This little stone crab creature here, that's a bit of a foreshadowing of what's to come.
Yeah, so here they come across this mama stone crab, which is this weird, like big, crab-like creature. And a lot of fun of the game is meeting these weird creatures and figuring out how they interact with LANA and Mui, and if they interact differently with them. And here the player needs to figure out that this creature is actually only interested in Mui and eating Mui. It's not interested in LANA at all. So what the player can do here then is to tell Mui to stop in that little safe spot, and Mui is then effectively used as bait, luring that stone crab to the right side of that area. And LANA can then go around and use the creature as a platform to progress.
And it's been a lot of fun during playtesting to see the reaction to people, like even at this stage in this snippet, people have already sort of grown an attachment to Mui and feel a bit bad about using her as bait. So that's very interesting to see that, you know, you can really connect with this little creature fairly quickly.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we want. And here you can also see an example of what I was talking about before, that Mui can bite off ropes and cables, which is very useful. And here's also an example of where LANA can tell Mui to go into this narrow space which she can't fit into, to activate this tentacle that she can climb up on. And I could also just say briefly that this part of the game that we're showcasing here today is quite early in the game, and it's the first part, as you see now, where you're actually playing together with Mui. So this chapter also serves as kind of like an introduction to what Mui can do, and how LANA and Mui can interact with each other, and how you can use their different abilities to solve the obstacles and puzzles that you come along in this world. And here you can see that Mui can go into these tunnels, which is going to be more useful later on.
Hola, Mui.
And now LANA comes across a slightly different structure aesthetically to what we've seen before. This, of course, is a box trap left behind by the invading robot army that they used to trap and capture the humans and creatures of Novo. And that's really been, like, visually, that's been a big guiding light from the sketch stages of the game, where this juxtaposition of this sort of lush, beautiful, natural world with this cold, metallic robot aesthetic. And it works quite well, we think.
Yeah, and when you start the game, LANA is living peacefully in her village, right? Living off the nature and the creatures on this planet, and are living quite a simple life without technology before these robots invade. And it's a big part of the fun, right? To figure out why these robots have come to the planet. You wanna elaborate a bit on that, Klaus?
Yeah, for sure. That's a really A really big part of progressing through the game is really figuring out who are these robots, where do they come from, what do they want with the people of Novo, and what's the end goal. And as far as storytelling goes there as well, that we have some cutscenes and like just cinematic moments in the game that we use to tell the story, but other than that, there's a lot of just background detail as well that sort of gives the players clues as to what's going on, what's the history of this planet. And that's been something quite challenging, but also very, very satisfying to sort of get right.
Hola, Imui.
And now here we have our first encounter with one of these robots. And of course, the ominous tones created by our very talented composer, Takeshi Furukawa. We wanted to use music fairly sparsely in Planet of Lana. That was something that we agreed on with Takeshi fairly early on. We didn't want to flood the game with looping music and just to sort of fill out space. When the music does appear, we wanted it to really sort of communicate something and feel like a real cinematic treat for the player. And that's something that I think Takeshi's done just an excellent job with. That he's letting the natural world of the natural sounds of Novo, the bird life, the animal life, you know, the wind, build the foundation of the atmosphere, and then these little sort of splashes of color and music come in underneath. And this is a very good example of that as well.
Yeah, and another thing I just wanted to touch base on is we often get the question like, can you play this game cooperatively? Can you hand over a second controller to your friend so they can play as Mui? It was a very conscious decision from the get-go, and the whole game is based on that you can't do that. That Mui is her own living being and with her own mind, and you know, for the player to really develop this relationship with Mui, we felt it was super necessary that she couldn't be controlled by another human, because we really want to, you know, try to create that feeling or that relationship that you can have with a creature like a dog in real life, and that magic really disappears as soon as another human being takes control of her. So gameplay-wise, a lot of the puzzles are a logical part of the world, and it's often environmental puzzles like these that you've seen in this part of the game that we're showcasing here. But since this is an introductory chapter for playing with Mui, it's also on the simpler side, and as we move on in the game, the difficulty ramps up, and also you get to unlock new abilities both with Mui and Lana. It also opens up new possibilities for solving puzzles and exploring this world, which we're very happy with.
Ima.
And in this puzzle, Lana and Mui had to use that stone crab to raise the elevator so they could move that box up so they could progress. And the humans that has built this kind of outpost for woodworking then realized that they're using these creatures as kind of work animals in some ways. So everything that you see in the game has, you know, has a thought behind it, and also the players that are more keen on noticing small details like that are more keen to puzzle together and learn more about the world that we've created.
Pamaki-mui.
This is one of my favorite parts of this part of the game. So serene. And while we've really focused on, you know, having a good frequency of puzzles and you know, keeping the player engaged, I really do like these little moments as well, where you can just sort of take in the nature and really like immerse yourself in the world. And now we're coming up to our second scout robot friend here. And as we'll see here, plays this mysterious melody into the ether, which we're not quite sure why. This is also a part of the story.
Yeah, and here also you see that this is like the finale of this chapter, and here the player has to set up a trap, and Lana and Mui really has to work together here with everything they've learned so far. So what we can see here is this like big lump of wooden trunks that's set up with that rope, so the player then needs to figure out that Mui can bite off that rope at the exact right moment, and Lana can use herself as bait instead this time, and that's how they defeat that robot. And it's really a turning point in the game where Lana kind of realizes and Mui that they might be able to do this, that they might be able to make a difference, and might be able to find her sister and the people of the village.
And of course, a lot of work went into, you know, making the scout robot a very intimidating and, you know, scary creature to encounter. It's something that we really wanted the players to dread those encounters. And now, of course, Lana comes out on the ledge here, and she sees this strange robot base structure far in the distance. And that also plays this strange melody that we saw the scout play before. And of course, now she can see the goal of her journey. She knows where she needs to go.
Yeah, and thank you very much so much for watching, and hope you're as excited as we are for our upcoming game, Planet of Lana. See you next time.